Hello, everybody. Welcome. I would say happy Thursday. That's the day we're recording this, but I think it's going to get sent sometime next week. I'll be traveling. And we have a fun one for you today. We have a fun one. We're very unpredictable here at Breaking Bagels, but I'm excited for this.
Yeah, man, it's one of those weeks where it doesn't feel like Thursday. It feels like Wednesday to me. How about yourself? Does it feel like Thursday? You ready for the weekend or not yet?
Honestly, no, this week just came and went so quickly. I think after Pesach, it was just like, have some chametz, boom, boom, boom. Like it's already, we're already well into the Omer. Got the Omer beard growing in. I see you have yours as well. And yeah, I'm actually traveling a little bit next week. Also going to the States, going to Mexico for a Beehive offsite, which should be really exciting. But it's always tough to leave Israel, man. I feel that. I heard something in the name of Rav Cook, and he said you could tell how healthy a Jew is by how sick he feels outside of the land of Israel. And I guess that means I'm pretty healthy because I'm normally would be very excited for trips and vacations, and of course I'm excited to see my family and excited to go to Mexico and see the whole all my coworkers in person. But it's a little sad to be leaving Israel, honestly.
Yeah, man, I feel you. Safe travels. I hope it's successful. I hope you enjoy seeing your family. I hope you have a good offsite. And, you know, we'll welcome you back as soon as you can get back. And I hope you, for real, don't get sick because I know traveling and just changing your environment and stuff can throw things off. So drink a lot of water, stay hydrated, and stay positive, and you'll be healthy. So,
Yeah, thanks, man. And yeah, we have an exciting podcast we're going to dive into. But before, just want to start off by saying that today is actually Yom HaShoah here in Israel. And I was reminded, I was actually learning this morning with my chavruta, with my study partner. And, I 10 a.m., I forgot there was going to be a siren. I heard a siren. And at first I was like, uh-oh, like, where's the mamad? And unfortunately, I think that's a sad reality. A lot of, Israelis and people who, that are here and have made Aliyah, whenever they hear that sound, their first instinct is to run for shelter. But so much, to say on this day, obviously. And so I don't think anyone could really express what we're feeling now. But the one thing that I kept thinking of is how grateful I feel to be living in Israel. Right, we live here. There might be some machloket sometimes, but we have an army, we have a nation, we have a place where Jews should feel safe to be always and forever, and that makes me really proud, especially on a day like today, where you remember, all the atrocities that happened to our people.
yeah, man, so many mixed emotions. It was super powerful for me. It was the first time that I actually heard the siren in Israel. So I think around the world, Jews recognize this day and it's very meaningful in their programs, but there's nothing like being in Israel for this. I was looking out at the highway and I saw
Wow.
cars slowly, pull over, people getting out of the cars and just taking a pause for a minute. And I think the juxtaposition of that siren, which it actually sounds different a little bit than the
Yeah,
main.
yeah, I noticed it like after a few seconds. It's like, okay, this is different siren, and I remembered.
Yeah, but it was kind of eerie just to see
Yeah,
everyone pull over and the juxtaposition between this is the siren that sounds for us to, think about all the Jews and all the people that perished in the Holocaust and to remember them. And then from time to time, we have the other type of siren of the people who are trying to kill us. But then the emotion that came to me that you brought up was just we have Eretz Yisrael. We
yeah.
didn't have that back, before 1948. And so I'm just filled with gratitude. And yeah, a lot of mixed emotions, but very powerful day. And yeah, thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. So, Jake, you want to tell the people what we're going to be talking about today?
Yes. So we decided on this topic about 10 minutes ago, and it is how to market a podcast for people who don't really want to spend a lot of time marketing. But I'll go into don't want to spend a lot of time. It's that I don't have Instagram on my phone. I think I have an account somewhere, but I don't go on it. I don't have TikTok. I'll never put that on my phone. And so there's all these things that you think about when it comes to marketing. And what I really enjoy is getting to do this podcast, getting to learn a lot, getting to interact with people who are listening to it, sending us feedback, hopping on calls with them, but not all of the other stuff that goes into perhaps marketing a podcast. So this is sort of an open discussion as much as possible. And we're going to be sharing some podcast marketing ideas for people who don't want to spend a ton of time marketing a podcast.
100%. And let me just be clear with everyone listening that we are usually very well prepared for these episodes, and we do the research and we plan out before, and we have a few different ideas. But we thought, this is very timely. It's something on the top of our minds. And just doubling down and like double clicking on what Jake said is really, both Jake and I really enjoy this. Like, we enjoy talking to one another and having these conversations. And even when I'm doing this, like, I'm just sort of having a conversation between Jake and I. And if anyone else wants to listen, that's great. We have heard some positive feedback. I've heard from my mother and my mother-in-law that they both really love the podcast. So a little bit of a biased opinion, but in all reality, like in all honesty, I think this could really benefit a lot of people that are, have made Aliyah recently, are Aliyah curious, are coming more into their Jewish identity in the workforce or whatever it is. So we are thinking about different ways where we can get this out to more people, but don't fall victim to a lot of the things that we talk about, like social media addiction, deprioritizing our health, our time with our family. So that's why it's going to be an open discussion here. And if anyone has any ideas of things that we could be doing, please let us know in the community, which we'll talk about. But Jake, why don't you go ahead and talk about the first idea, and let's debrief that a little bit.
Yeah, so we have a few ideas that we're kicking around, and I think the core of the idea is, instead of thinking about getting a certain number of listeners or whatever, I always go back to what's actually valuable to people. And so, in thinking about what are the ways that I prepared for Aliyah, what's helpful for me now, I was thinking that it could be useful to take our jobs episode that we did. It was, I think, episode 3, and create a website that has a bunch of tips that people can use to help them get a job faster in Israel. And we could even improve that, right? So we could put career advisors, organizations, just kind of a cheap sheet, and just like a resource for people to help them get a job or transition jobs. So that could be something that's interesting. What do you think about
100%.
that?
And I think this goes back to one of the fundamental lessons in marketing, which is marketing. There's a dance between giving and taking, right? And like the best marketers are really good at the giving side, right? Like when we ask someone to check out a podcast, right, we are asking them to do us a favor, like do us a favor and listen to the podcast, right? But if we reposition it and we offer a lead magnet and we say, for free, like we're giving you, top 10 tips for searching for a job in Israel. If you're, send this to someone who's making Aliyah or is interested in making Aliyah, all of a sudden we're doing you a favor. And right, there could be the reciprocal fact of that, where you take us you take us up on it and you actually listen to said podcast or subscribe. So I think that's a great idea. And I think there's, it's really cool how we're utilizing AI for that as well. I think Jake mentioned that he just took the transcript from our episode, which we have anyway after we record a podcast, threw that into Claude and asked it to basically give us a site or give us a lead magnet on this.
Yeah, absolutely. Love it. One of my first bosses, like I think about him a lot, and he was the first guy that took a chance on me and hired me. He would always repeat with him, WIIFM, which is what's in it for me, right? So when I'm thinking about all these people that we're either recording podcasts for, or creating things for, it's what's in it for them.
100%. I couldn't agree more. So that's definitely one of the things that we're very much thinking about. And I think with that, and this is also very relevant to Israel and being in Israel, we're thinking about where we can reach people and where we can meet people. And I think the biggest sort of tool that we're thinking about right now is WhatsApp, right? And so we just got off a pretty interesting call with someone who is a little bit of a growth hacker when it comes to WhatsApp, and is able to basically find us a bunch of different WhatsApp groups based off of keywords, right, that could be related to this podcast. And we're thinking about going and sort of, posting in all these different WhatsApp groups, providing value with the lead magnet, seeing what it resonates with. But this I have a question for you, Jake, because it's something that I think about a lot, and I post a lot on LinkedIn almost every day, and starting to slowly but surely build a little bit of a following there. How how does it feel to like be like there's a little part of me inside anytime where I'm gonna do some like promotion or where I'm just like posting in a bunch of different WhatsApp groups where like it feels cringe. I think that's the right word, and also like
Mhm.
very vulnerable, right? Like, is that something that like have you been like public facing in a lot of your career? Like, how are you thinking about that? And even with the podcast, obviously, right? Like, it would be great if the podcast grows more and more, but then a lot of people are going to have an insight to our lives, right? In a lot of ways that we didn't see, we didn't foresee. So I'm curious your thoughts on that, and if you've thought about that.
Wow, man. I don't like being public facing actually, and the podcast is hard for me to do. But I'm having so much fun doing that I'm kind of pushing through the parts that are uncomfortable, which kind of leads into what we kicked it all off with, which was pursuing hard things, doing things that are
Yeah.
hard, and growing from that. So I am not very public facing. I've been a little bit more public facing since I started Good Vibes, which is a solo design agency, because you kind of have to be present. You got to tell people what you're doing, but it's very uncomfortable. I think one of the interesting things is that the algorithms are getting better, and usually things that are for sure outright spam is kind of filtered to a different feed, and then things that are salesy. So you can kind of, as just in playing around with it, start to see what's actually valuable for people. So that's something that I'm learning about on LinkedIn. I'm promoting my startup Nora Health, and so I created a list recently of mental health tips, right? I think you like that on LinkedIn. And so it was, here are the tips, try them out, see if it can help you. And it led people to clicking through to Nora Health. But it wasn't just, hey, I'm creating this thing, do it. So I think there is definitely a fear. I think only 10% of people on the internet create any of the content.
Uh-huh.
So imagine that. Like, if you are creating a piece of content, it means that there are 9 other people that are not creating any content and they're just consuming.
Yeah.
And
On
it
LinkedIn, I
can
heard
be,
it's 1%, by the way. On
no
LinkedIn, I
way,
heard it's only
1%.
1%. Yeah.
Wow. And yeah, so I definitely feel that when I post, but usually you get feedback very quickly. So
Yeah.
is it something that doesn't resonate? And if you treat it as an experiment and just kind of have fun with it, that's the best way to approach it, in my opinion. What do you think? Like, I'm curious uh, to dig into kind of how you're growing your LinkedIn following and what you're finding works and doesn't work.
Yeah. It's funny. I've had like I guess mini celebrity moments, which are interesting. Like I'll be like in a shul somewhere and like Modi'in randomly, and someone will be like, "Oh, like I love your stuff on LinkedIn." And they're like, "Oh, like nice to meet you," right? Or like small encounters like that. And oh, I actually heard something amazing from my friend. I'm not going to say his name because I don't want to. I don't want to share the story out there. But he shared this with me, and it was very vulnerable. Basically, my friend posts a lot on LinkedIn and he's built a name for himself and built a little bit of a personal brand there. And he was traveling somewhere for Shabbat, and this guy, comes up to him and, "Oh, what's your name? Nice to meet you." And he says his name, right? And the guy like that he met is like, "Oh my gosh, like so random. Like I know there's this guy that has the same name as you, and he's like the most obnoxious, annoying guy on LinkedIn. Like I can't stand him." And like my friend was thinking to himself silently, like, "That's me. Like you're literally talking about me. Like we have the same name because we're the same person." But he didn't say anything. He didn't confront them.
Wow.
But he made a comment to me, which I think is true, which is, at first, obviously, he felt pretty hurt and discouraged. But when you're striking a chord with someone, either positively or negatively, it means you're doing something right, right? And he has been able to grow
Mm.
his personal brand and his business a lot. And I think the worst response you can get when you launch a podcast or launch an ebook or anything is just like in the middle or like satisfaction or like, beseder, like okay. I think it's much better if you get like half the people are like, "Wow, this is awesome, I love it," and half the people are like, "This is the worst thing ever, it's cringe," right? And it goes back to I think what we're trying to do with this podcast is 1,000 true fans. I forgot if that's Paul Graham or which investor
Kevin
billionaire.
Kelly, I think.
Yeah. I think
Tim Ferriss was big on that, and they've had a relationship for over 10 years. But
got it. So that makes a lot of sense. And basically the premise there is, in any business, in any venture, in this podcast, really you need to find your 1,000 true fans, and then you're good from there, right? Those are the people that are your real true fans, stick with you thick and thin, are going to be promoting, are going to be the ones telling others about it. They're going to be, doing your marketing for you. So we're trying to figure out how we could find the 1,000 true fans for this podcast. And yeah, we went on a little tangent there. I'm sorry. I forgot where we were, if we were talking about WhatsApp groups, but you could bring us back.
No, I actually love that, and I would love to hear a little bit about the month or two after that happened to your friend. Like, was
Yeah.
it a good month for your friend? Did things like grow? Did he tell me more about that?
Yeah, the honest truth is I don't know. I still see him posting every day, so he obviously is not so discouraged. I know he hasn't shared that story publicly, which is why I'm obviously keeping it pretty vague right now. But I think we need a whole other episode about like putting yourself out there and personal branding and stuff. I know for me, I posted about this on LinkedIn, but about 3 or 4 years ago, a family friend of mine who I wasn't so close with him, but like he reached out to me on LinkedIn, and I had just started posting content, and he basically he's like, you look like a fool right now. Like, I have no idea why you're doing this. You're never gonna get a job. Like, he was really like, it was like
Wow.
bullying. I was like, dude, like I get how you feel. I'm like, but this is not helping anyone. But he was really like saying how cringe and embarrassing it was. And fast forward 4 years of like pretty consistent posting, I found a job that I absolutely love. I built a following of almost 10,000 people now. I have like a very solid community and connections, and that would not be the case if I listened to him. So that's some inspiration there, and a lot that we could dig into on a future episode. But just a little anecdote.
No, I love that. I think the sad thing is that ends up stopping a lot of people from
For
trying
sure.
new things. Most people who offend someone else or like put them down or crush their dreams is because they're too afraid of going after the dream themselves. They think they're too old to do it or make something new for themselves. And it's also like in spiritually, I know you're into Rabbi Nachman and different Torah teachings, and being able to be offended and be silent and not respond is actually something that is really, really beneficial. For example, if someone gets embarrassed and their blood rushes to their face and everything, but they don't say anything, they're silent, it actually is like a cleansing process for them. You can see this physically, right? Because the blood is actually flowing, and that kind of relates to the fasting
Wow.
topic and cleaning out the blood. And but it's like bringing a sacrifice, right? So if you're silent and your blood is flowing, that's like bringing a sacrifice, a modern day sacrifice. So is fasting. And the spiritual root of silence and money are connected, which is why I was asking about your friend, because dome is silence and damim is money. So they're actually connected concepts. So being embarrassed and not responding and being silent will actually bring a lot of money. Could be a month after, 2 months after. So follow up with your friend, see
Wow.
if it like led to a very big increase for him. I'd be interested in that.
Oh, I have such an amazing story to tell, and I don't know if I should I'll tell it quickly, and then we'll get back to sort of marketing this podcast. Again, I'm not going to say my friend's name because he's a super unav, which means he's super, super humble. One of my closest friends here in Israel, and there's a big age gap between us. He's a little bit older than I am, but like we're still very close friends. And he is like a modern Orthodox guy, but very connected, very, very connected. And he started getting into a certain Hasidic Rebbe. Okay, a certain Hasidic Rebbe that's living nowadays in like Mea Shearim or Bnei Brak, I'm not sure. And he went to one of his, and the big thing this Hasidic Rebbe teaches, this big Hasidic rabbi teaches, is really to have emunah, to have faith in everything that God does, to just have faith that everything is for the best, right? So he went one night to hear this rabbi speak, and anyone who's been to any like Hasidic Tish knows that there are basically hundreds of people wearing black and white and sometimes strimals, which is a furry hat if it's a holiday or Shabbat or anything. And they're big bleachers, and almost everyone looks the same. And my friend shows up, and he's there with a buddy of his, and they're both wearing, maybe like a polo shirt and khakis. Like it's like Where's Waldo is a very easy game with them. And they are there, and my friend is like in the front row, and he does something that is incredibly frowned upon in some of these places, which is he takes out his smartphone and starts recording. And he takes out his iPhone, he starts recording. All of a sudden, this guy in the back shoves him with two hands. He falls down one level of the bleacher and he falls on his face. Thank God he was okay. My friend said in that moment where he fell, all of the teachings this rabbi taught him about like having faith and that everything happens from God and everything, like all of that flashed before his eyes. He got up and he turned around to this guy and his friends were like, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry. And he said to him, Ani mochelecha. He said, I forgive you. Without anything. That was his first instinct. He said, I forgive you. And he turned to his friend next to him. And at this point, they were fundraising for a beautiful new shul, a shul that a lot of people probably know about. Again, I'm not going to say it because he would kill me. And he said, this year, we're going to get the full funding for the shul. And my friend is in finance. And he said he almost immediately after had the best year in his whole entire career. And from that was really able to finance a lot of the shul, which is now an amazing, beautiful community. So a lot of truth to that.
Baruch Hashem. I'm so glad to hear. And yeah, it sounds like that's a Jewish money tip right there, although it's not on the marketing thing, but we could do a whole another podcast on kind of Jewish money tips that we've heard. But
100%.
that's definitely one of them is silence at the right time and forgiveness. Marketing. All right. So we have the website idea that kind of takes content from the episodes and makes it more actionable for people. I wonder if we could actually partner with other people who are kind of in Israel running their own businesses, but not partnering as a way to like sell, but actually these are the people that I recommend anyway. When people ask me about, financial advisors or anything like that, what ideas do you have there around working with other people while trying to keep the time commitment down at this point?
Yeah, partnering is great, right? Like for my regular day job, which is more of like an evening job, I'm in partnerships at Beehive, so I do a lot of partner work. It takes a lot of time, I think, to get on the same page and like about like what you're promoting. So that's why I'm a little bit wary of like promoting someone and then like what if we were promoting someone and because we think their work is the best, but then someone is like, hey, I love what you're doing and I'll pay you to promote me. Like, how do we navigate that, right? And there's always some factors to consider there. Of course, I don't think for any amount of money we would promote someone that we don't, ourselves think is good. That's a whole other conversation. But yeah, I think partnering is interesting. I haven't thought enough about it. But there is a pretty tight like Ole Chadash ecosystem of people who have made Aliyah and like Olim service businesses that I think we could for sure tap into. It's also like, I think, candidly speaking, definitely a potential revenue source for us if we ever open this up to sponsorships and the like.
Yeah. One of the other ideas I came up with and we were chatting about was having a directory.
Yeah.
Very basic, like a spreadsheet that kind of breaks down all these services and giving people access to that. So if you're thinking about making Aliyah, boom, you can see the 20 Lyft providers or something along those lines. Have you done any, like built any directories before or seen any directories that have worked really well?
Directories. Have I seen anything that's worked really well in the past? I think so. I don't know if on the top of my head I'll be able to tell. I know there was one called the Jerusalem Butler, which was interesting because I have a local newsletter, JLM Scoop, and like it was meant for more of like the Haredi crowd, like American crowd, and like Ramat Eshkol area of like different businesses for like yeshiva and seminary kids as well. Nothing. And there's like a lot of startup directories I think that do a pretty good job at like they take a lot of tools that could be beneficial to like startup founders, right? Like AI tools, things like that. They put affiliate codes in, they make money from there. Ben Lang has a great one with NextPlay, which is his company there that I've used and that I pay for. But not so many besides that stand out. How about you? Anything that stands out on your end?
No, I mean I've seen them kind of around the interwebs,
Yeah.
but nothing for Aliyah. Like I felt like I had to make my own master spreadsheet and
Yeah.
fill in a lot of the gaps, because there's a really good information from Nevesh Benefesh, but really where you get all of your information from are the WhatsApp groups, which we keep going back to, which is this is the tool in Israel to master, and that's going to be most valuable, especially because you want to get up-to-date information and things change year to year.
Yeah.
So I found myself kind of pulling it together myself and filling in the gaps. So
For sure, for sure. Why don't we tell everyone what our plan is a little bit in terms of WhatsApp and what we're debating right now?
take it away.
B'chavod.
Well, I would say it's still kind of changing, and it goes back to the core of what we discussed, which was we want to make sure that whatever we're doing is valuable for people. And so one thing we're thinking about in terms of WhatsApp is finding a bunch of relevant groups and creating a valuable piece of content and sharing that with them. Because in an ideal world, we talked about this, I would love to reach out to people individually in these WhatsApp groups, kind of sharing the podcast and introducing myself. And I've started doing that and have had really nice conversations, been connecting with people on LinkedIn, having conversations over WhatsApp as well as on video calls like this. But it's very time consuming, and this is a part-time thing for the time being. So we think we could create something valuable on WhatsApp and share it to a broader audience, to relevant groups.
Yep, completely agree. So if you see a post from us in a WhatsApp group that you're in, please shoot it a like. And yeah, I think that's one of the interesting things that we were speaking about. I think the other thing, and what we're really thinking about, and anyone who's been on social media has, been seeing nonstop short form video, right? And these short form video clips popping off absolutely everywhere. So I think that's really the other angle that we're thinking about. Is clipping up this podcast. We've already tried it. Riverside gives us some clips called magic clips of just 30-second to like 1 minute clips of us talking about something, with the captions and with B-roll and everything like that. So we're looking for different people, and I think we're going to try someone out maybe on Upwork who can clip some of these things that we talk about, put them together, and sort of see from a marketing perspective what that yields, and that also doubles as social content for us, and getting out to as many places as possible. The thing that I'm dreading though is myself being on Instagram or being on TikTok. LinkedIn and X I could do, right? Like, and I do that a lot for my work, but any of those short form video platforms with the endless scroll, it's like a recipe to disaster for any type of productivity or focus for me.
It's pretty wild just how addicting those things are.
Yeah, it's
Because I don't
insane.
have Instagram on my phone, I don't have TikTok, but I have YouTube, and they have the YouTube Shorts. So
Ooh.
and they also put the Shorts on the home screen. So if you're whatever you're subscribed to, they're recommending,
Yeah.
interesting shorts, and you could just keep going. And it's hard, and I think we both don't want to fall into that. We want to just focus on creating valuable stuff for people and getting the podcast out there, but not being sucked into it. So it's this pull between creation and consuming.
100%. The best move I probably made on YouTube, even though YouTube is so addicting, is I turned my search history off. And basically turning off your search history means it kills the recommendation engine. So I don't get shorts anymore, which is amazing. So I highly recommend that. And the other thing, I think this is just a bigger conversation in general. And it's something that I've seen is, for a while when I've been trying to grow on LinkedIn, I was like, I'm only going to post and I'm not going to engage, and like I'm going to post, drop the value, and get off. That doesn't work though, because these platforms are reciprocal, right? And like, just like you're posting, that's giving value. But if you want to build real relationships, the people that are kind enough to engage and comment on your post, like, you need to be reciprocating that, right? Otherwise your content just won't grow over time. So, that's sort of the pull and take here. And that's what's so difficult. The pull and get the give and pull, I guess. But that's what's so difficult is really it's very hard to grow and build an audience without engaging with that. And engaging requires time and attention.
Absolutely. And I think that's why we created the channel for people to subscribe to in
Yeah.
WhatsApp and reach out to us, because I've had a ton of like really good conversations with people, and I really love doing that.
Yeah.
Versus kind of spending time on these platforms. Although I wouldn't mind commenting on different posts and stuff. But yeah, you bring up an interesting point, because it almost seems like supporting someone else in their post and what they're doing is more valuable to them than the
Yeah.
actual post you create and put out into the world. It's almost like the post you're creating is the byproduct of commenting them and supporting them.
100%. And also, one thing I'll just state here now at like the 30-minute mark of the episode, if you are listening to this and you are a friend of mine or a friend of Jake's or just a random person and you're enjoying this so far, like please shoot us a message. Like we love hearing feedback, even if you're not enjoying it. It's always cool. I don't know if anyone besides my mom and my wife listen to this. So it's really cool, obviously, to hear feedback, to hear where we can improve. And that really helps us a lot from like a chizik perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. What does your wife think about it?
I think she likes it. I don't. She might be too scared to tell me anything otherwise to hurt my feelings. But I think she likes it, and I think the important thing also is that I like it, and it's fun. And I think the thing I like about this podcast, which is a little bit different to posting on social media and like my newsletter, is that I think I show up in like my rawest and most vulnerable form in the podcast because I could go much more in depth into things that I'm doing. It was very interesting. Actually, I was one of my friends. I forget where this was, but we were having a conversation, and he like said something pretty specific, like, "Oh, like I know that you're doing this," and I was like, "How
Wow.
do you know that?" And I was like, "Oh, like." He's like, I listened to your podcast, and I was like, whoa, I forgot that I even talked about that, right? So like, it's a certain level of like vulnerability, and people are really listening to you. Um, but I think that's what makes it fun and exciting at the same time.
I love it. And I think that's what's going to make marketing this and marketing in general so much different these days, right? So we've been on, how long have we been on social media and had podcasts and everything? It's like more than a decade, right? And
Yeah.
I think what really comes through is the authenticity. It's almost not even what you're saying, it's how you're saying it. I think people can tell really quickly if what you're saying is, authentic and you care about it and you enjoy it, or if it's just like, oh, this is another list of things or whatever. So
One
we
million
are,
percent.
yeah. I'll ask you a random question because it kind
Hit
of
me.
relates to YouTube and stuff. And we said we were going to do some random questions at the end. So, what are some YouTube channels that you are subscribed to that have nothing to do with marketing or business or anything, like the random stuff?
You know, I'm not really subscribed to many YouTube channels, but I do have like a burner Instagram that I do subscribe to stuff. I can tell you what content I really enjoy listening to. And like from a podcast perspective also. I am incredibly interested also right now in health and fitness. And I think and that's a whole other podcast episode, and we'll talk about that. It's sort of matured more from like looking good and big muscles and like all that is fun and great. But now it's much more functional, like, feeling strong and feeling healthy. And I work a lot in the evenings, right? So I want to optimize my sleep. And I also want to be very awake so I don't have an afternoon crash, right? I have a stack of supplements here. I have my creatine. So I'm always interested in like those sort of biohacks, and there are a few people that I follow there. If I had to give a couple shout outs, there's this one guy who makes supplements. Unfortunately, they're not kosher, so I don't use his supplements, but Santa Cruz Nutritionals, his name is Brendan. He makes really good content. Andrew Huberman, I mean, everyone knows Huberman. Trying to think other guys that really stand out. Jeff Nippard talks a lot about like fitness and strength training. Probably like those three stand out, and like I love that type of content. There's another guy, Michael Smoke from Higher Up Wellness, who has great stuff as well. So that's like an area that I really enjoy. And then the other area, um, I really like travel content as well. I
Mm.
think I love traveling, and I'm pretty excited. Like I mentioned, I'm going to New York and Mexico. My wife and I are also going on a cruise to Greece this summer, which I'm really excited about. And I love the whole like backpacking thing, traveling to like foreign places, and I think it's like a little bit of like nostalgia because I did some backpacking, and now it's a little harder being married and like keeping kosher and all of those amazing things. But a lot of times I'll watch videos of guys who like travel across India with like $1 or like ridiculously adventurous videos. So like I think between travel and health and fitness and like some news in there, which like we don't need to get into, but like those three are probably the majority of my content consumption for fun. But I'm going to throw it back at you because it's a great question.
Okay, yeah. Well, I love that. I love that. I don't have a lot of fitness stuff. I am doing the fasting thing now. Uh, Lost 7 pounds in 7 days, which is crazy.
That's crazy.
And
Wait,
I feel good. I'm not getting that crash in the middle of the day.
that's awesome.
Um,
You're doing 16 and 8?
no, yeah, 18. No, 18 fasting, 6
Oh,
eating.
wow. Wow. That's a pretty tight window.
Yeah, yeah.
What, I'm going to guess your window because I know your hours
It
of sleep
shifts.
and
It
everything.
shifts, but you can guess.
Okay. I'll guess the standard is maybe you're starting to eat. Wait, maybe at 10 a.m.
Some days. Yeah.
So
I basically
you
eat
stop
between.
eating at like 3 some days. What's the
I
earliest you stop eating?
I did that yesterday actually. So I stopped at 3 and then I started next day at around 9. But some days it's later. Well, I'll finish
You're
at
not
5 p.m.
starving?
I'm not starving. It's weird. I don't know if it's just in my head and this that. I'm just trying to like day by day see how it goes. And it's also really interesting to see all the signals that the body is sending that you don't usually have access to.
Did you
Because you're
jump straight to 18.6 or did you build up? Because that's pretty
yeah.
extreme.
Yeah, jump straight to that.
What was why?
Man, we're gonna get okay. So I think it was on Pesach where your whole like schedule is different anyway, right?
Yeah.
You're eating differently, all this, and I was like, I don't feel good. Like I don't feel as good as I want to. Again, it was a completely different schedule. Just like how you'll still be eating healthy, but you'll be traveling, so it'll
Yeah.
just throw you off a little bit. And I was like, I want to feel better, and I feel like, there are certain times where I know I'm hungry and it's actually a good time to eat. And other times where it's like, maybe it's behavior. Maybe it's like, oh,
Yeah.
you walked into the kitchen, so you want something. And I was like, I need to do a reset in order to actually understand the signals that my body is sending me. And it's okay to be a little bit hungry. Like, what's the worst case scenario is you go and you eat. Right?
Yeah.
But the best case scenario is that everything is kind of cleansed, and I was using the Zero app that you
Sure.
used, and I'm super curious to hear about your 250-day streak and how
Yeah.
that went. But yeah, that's really the reason why I started doing it, and I'm very much I'm not an analytical person. Like I can be analytical, but I'm much more of an intuitive, emotional person. And so what comes easy to me is doing things by intuition, and it's a little harder for me to do things analytically. So I was like,
Mm.
let me jump into it. Let me start doing it. The worst case scenario is not that bad. And then as I'm doing it, I'll start learning about what it's actually doing. But I'm much more of like a feeler,
Cool.
experimenter, and probably mess up a lot type of person.
That makes a lot of sense. I think we need a whole separate episode on health protocols, on fasting, because there's a lot of interesting stuff there. Supplementation. But I'll put you on the spot another time. Right now again, maybe to close this out. Um, I'm curious if you have some Torah for me. We're I'll give you a couple ideas if you have anything. We're in the Omer now, which is always a very interesting time, right? And it's like this, mourning period, and we're building up the Shavuot. We just finished Pesach, so anything Pesach is still okay to say. Coming into the summer months now, I don't know if you have any Torah for me. I always like either starting or ending the episode on a Bissel of Torah.
Love that. Well, we did have the idea of that kind of tied together the concept of money and silence
Yeah.
and forgiveness and humility, and all that's really good. The thing that's just kind of coming through for me as I'm thinking about it is I think that there is a Yetzer Hara where you learn Torah and you're so excited about it that you are spreading it around, you're telling everyone about it, but it's actually prevents you from retaining it yourself.
Mm,
So it's very interesting. That's what's coming through for me right now when you
mm,
brought it up. Whereas like I might want to grab something new and do it, but what I feel right now is like to really cement in and download that other idea that I told you, and to not run around kind of sharing more ideas
mm.
because it's just not. It doesn't feel authentic. There's nothing that's coming through for me. So I think that's a good thing to keep in mind because I think with Rabbi Nachman's Torah and other Torah, we get so excited about it, and you're like, well, if everyone just knew this, then the world would be so much better, right? And it's much more about myself and just like working on myself. Like that's how I'm going to change the world, is just by seeing what I got to work on and fix. And that's something that came through for me. I don't know if that was coherent, but
I think without even saying a Torah, you said a very deep Torah, which is what I love. And I think for me, like how this comes through and shines through this idea you talked about is a lot of times when I'm walking around, right, I have these AirPods in, and they are both a big blessing and a big curse. They are a big blessing because they let me listen to tons of valuable information, Torah information too, amazing shiurim, amazing podcasts. But sometimes I think what would be best for me in this moment for like my avodat Hashem is doing some hitbodedut, having a conversation with God, but that is a lot harder to do than just passively listening to something. And I think similarly, what you mentioned, it's very easy to like think of a new Dvar Torah or a new this or new that. It's very hard to sit with something that you know, right? And one thing that I love, and maybe this is a Dvar Torah, but it's on this point, is I think the Alter Rebbe says that the biggest difference in the world is the biggest distance in the world is between the head and the heart. And I think that a lot of times we know something, right? And like on a chokhmah level, like if I asked you right now, Jake, what is the capital of the United States? What would you say?
Washington, D.C.
Correct. Now, how many times today were you consciously aware of that fact?
0.
Exactly. So like we all know, right? Like it depends where you're listening to this, but like me and Jake, as like Orthodox Jews, we both like know and really believe that, God is in control and runs the world. But like how many times a day did we consciously think about that? And I think it's same with all these Torahs and everything we're discussing. Like there's a difference between knowing something and internalizing it. So I give everyone a blessing on the conclusion of this podcast that we all not only know a lot of wisdom and a lot of Torah and a lot of beautiful things, but we're able to internalize them into our practices as well.
Amen. Amen. And you tied it up really, really nicely to the beginning of the episode, which was about pausing for a minute and recognizing the Holocaust. Because how many times did you think about the Holocaust in the last week? Probably not so much.
Today at 10 a.m. and maybe last night as well.
Right.
Yeah. Beautiful, beautiful. Thanks so much, Jake. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening to this. And yeah, you'll probably see us on WhatsApp, maybe with some short form video soon. If you have any marketing ideas for us, let us know. And hope you have an amazing rest of your day.
Yeah. Thanks for listening.
Bye, everyone.